ShopDog says, welcome back to another Pontiac video. This should be a pretty good video today. For starters, it is absolutely gorgeous outside. You don't get this weather in Minnesota that often. Now, we have a few goals today. Don't know if we'll hit them all, but one of the very first things is we would like to go ahead and look at the cooling system and the brake system. The cooling system, he got a new pump, a high flow pump. And at first I was like, we'll add it whenever. Then I saw this impeller, this beautiful aluminum impeller. And we're definitely doing that. The other thing is, it's double drilled. So we just checked, using this little guy to verify we lined up, that we actually could use a Chevrolet clutch fan. So you can see how beautiful that is. And we've got gaskets and we've got new plates. The plates are a big part of what rots out on these cars. Well, actually on any of these cars that have a integrated water pump plate. The other big thing is, and this was off camera, I didn't film it, I have been playing around with the brake. For starters, and it's probably up a little too high now. I've got that adjusted as high up as I possibly could. I even changed clevises. The other thing is, I'm sick and tired of these cotter pins, so I did order a box of R keys, or they call them hairpins, but I've always called them R keys. The original clevis for that, I think is possibly in here. Might be sitting out here. Yeah. I was not prepared to discuss that, I guess. Anyway, I will find it and we will show it later. It was much shorter. I had another one, so I pulled that whole rod out, and that added 3/4 of an inch. Now, one of the other major things, besides the fact that we would like to potentially have the car sitting here so we can start taking the front end apart at the end of the day, is wheels and tires. Now, let me give you a quick run by of the wheel and tire combo here. And wow, on some cars this is a cool look. We're not really sold on it on this car, particularly given just the overall appearance and sizes. So Diesel has been doing a little research, and he found all the original tire sizes, which are much taller than we expected.
Yeah, if you look at this picture here, this is that same wagon with the original tires on it. And if you look, they're almost 28 inches tall, really tall tires. And what we're fussing with...
Show the data. There you go.
Yeah, so they're really tall tires, and we're trying to understand how do we get the right size rim, because those rims are really big, and get the right size of tire on there that looks right. When we look at the current tire information here, that rear tire is only 26 inches high, so that is almost 2 inches shorter than what was on factory. And so we look at an 18-inch rim and say that's probably not the right thing. Can you go 17? Can you go 16? And more importantly, can you get a tire that fits that works?
That's the problem.
And it becomes even more important because when I go back to Camaro days, well, you just get a BFG with raised letter tires, and they make a million of those.
225 front, 245 back on 15. You can buy them all day long.
And everyone's done that analysis and work. It's now a matter of trying to figure out, okay, what's the right offset? Are those the right offset? How big a tire can you actually get in without touching anything when the car's fully down? There's a lot of analysis that needs to be done. So I started gathering some information, finding a bunch of sites that has good tire information that can help guide us to a point to understand what are the tires we can put on that car. So more work to come on that.
Well, one of the things, and I do this a lot more than I would care to admit, but one of the very first things you have to do before you get too deep into that is figure out what are the couple of tires you like. Is this going to be, a Sport Comp 2? Is this going to be a TA? I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. If you know the series, because the data is out there. You go to Tire Rack and you can get actual sector width. You can get actual heights and find out exactly what that tire is. And one of the things I like to do, especially up front, is once I've narrowed down to a tire that I like and a wheel size I like, and I know I can buy both of those, I will start mocking that up, build it out of cardboard a lot of times, or a wire rack, with a wire pointer, and actually mount it, turn the wheel side lock to lock, turn the wheel. Does it hit anywhere? Load the suspension. Does it hit anywhere? The worst thing you can do is spend, $1,800 on a wheel and tire combo here, or actually it's more than that nowadays, and suddenly find out that every time you turn and hit a bump, you lose a chunk of tire.
Yep.
So
and
that sucks.
Additionally, right, we have a lot of car friends. A lot of them are Chevy guys, so we can't borrow tires and rims and try it because the bolt pattern's different over on the Pontiac.
This is a 5-on-5.
So you get kind of a one-shot deal at it because there's not many of these big full-size Pontiacs running around that have custom tires and wheels on it. So a lot of work needs to get done before a ton of money goes out.
Yeah, because let's face it, you can't just do the classic simple like on the Impala or the rocket ship or the black car or John's Impala or El Camino. I mean, it's real easy to just run out there and get that on a Chevy.
Yeah, and grab a set of rallies and what's the offset and how wide do you want them. Easy to get on the Chevy stuff, not so easy on the Pontiac stuff.
Yeah, because getting the backspace right is also important. Yeah. And is one of the things I think is wrong on the rear back here.
I think so too. It really showed up in last week's video with the camera kind of showing to the front. I expected to see a little more of the tire and wheel, and it really didn't. And when you go in and you feel here, boy, there's not a lot of room, and the trim's already been cut away in the back.
Yeah, well, they had to do that because of the rocking back and forth with the air ride. So trying to get a combo that you're happy with, that you can actually buy, it'd be really awesome if you could also change it on the side of the road, but I don't think that's possible in this car. But no, Diesel has found a few pictures in fact, several of them, of this exact car with different wheels and tires, and we will show those in a minute in a little photo form. So that gives us a couple ideas, but honestly, I think he's going to go old school Pontiac look. No hubcaps or anything like that. I think he's just going to go with some nice Pontiac wheels, but it really depends on what's going to fit. We're going to see about launching poor ShopDog all over the place, but he wants to go for a little ride and see if the brakes work. He's worked very hard on this car. So we just popped the battery back on. Now remember, this car, it's still learning to cold start, so we'll see how she does. Ooh, she's got to get set up. Ollie does not like that. He's like, yeah, this is weird.
Ready?
Yep. Okay. Did she sink a little? Yeah, because now it's working. How's it feel? Okay. Let me go see if there's anything on this side. I don't remember. Okay. Yeah, just remember Ollie's there, so no. Yeah, our running tally. Oh, look at Ollie going for a ride. Yeah, because remember, when it happened even in the yard.
Are we high enough?
Should be. Are you on 2?
I think I should be.
Yeah, it came up when you started it, so it's got to be on 2. Ollie is not sure. He says, this window is really low. He's like, they're trying to kill me. It's okay, buddy. He's like, holy monkeys, Pixie's out to watch me. So Mama was calling from up on the garden. Yeah, remember it really stuck when you were full turn. What are you doing back there, bud? Is this pretty cool? Yeah, Mama's doing a little more harvesting because it's salsa day again. It's that time of year. Lots of salsa. Yeah, I obviously have to readjust the brake, the switch, because it's always on.
Is it always on now?
Well, I had it pulled all the way up at one point, so I'm sure it's...
Yeah, I haven't had any problems.
Yeah, does it feel pretty confident?
Yeah.
Because remember, when it was on the floor, you were like, eh.
No, it feels good.
What do you think of the height?
Yeah, I can come down a little bit.
Yeah, that's not that hard.
Yeah, but it feels good. It feels nice and solid to the body.
Sweet.
Yep. All right, what do you
Crap, we might have actually, we might have made that happen. Oh, well, if we're going to drain the cooling system, we're doing it on the lift.
Are we going to do water pump today?
It's that or we get started on the...
We have to paint that water pump.
That's an important piece of information. So probably not doing the water pump today.
Probably get painted.
So, okay.
You want it in the other bag?
Yeah, we're going to have to go clean that out. Why don't you go ahead and pull her in the shade up here. Let's not let her get too hot. Hi, Ollie. You're going for a ride. Right. I have driven her around. The brake feels really good, actually. Better than I would have expected it to. So we're going to go ahead and get this stall cleaned up because I had forgotten in the intro this morning that we do have to paint that water pump. So I think we're looking at taking a car apart. How crazy is that? Pixie's going to bring her in. So, yeah. Looking pretty good. Oh, he's going to play with the... Well, you can do that in the stall, too.
Well, it's pretty low over here.
He's playing air ride games. When we are done with all of this, being on this floor right here is going to give him the chance to actually measure and make his air ride stuff set up. Unfortunately, I think we're going to wind up having to invest the money in the auto leveling feedback potentiometer arms. I think always doing this might get a little frustrating. So, yeah, he's just bringing it all. And that's the other thing. We want her pretty much all the way up when we start taking her apart. It's just going to give us a lot more room to work. So, come on, Ollie. All right. All right, the boss lady is going to back her up. Just kind of square her up a little. Oh, and she's testing the brakes. She hasn't tried the new brake feel yet. It definitely is a little more commanding than it was. I think I skid in the grass when I was driving it. Okay. And now, perfect. Bring her in. You keep going, and good. There. The door will close. Yeah, don't shut her down. What do you think of the brake now? Is that a little better?
Better. It's touchy at the slow speed.
Yes, yes. But that'll get better. Yeah, I think I'm going to lower the pedal a little bit. But other than that, I was happy that it kept returning like it's supposed to. So all that work we did on that little shuttle there, that was worth it. Definitely seemed to make a difference. And now we don't have to spend $500 replacing it. Oh, we're dumping. So, okay, he put her at 2.
3.
Yeah, 3 isn't adjusted correctly. So he's going to play with that for a minute. Said I would find, this is the clevis on the brake pedal that was in there. And I replaced it with one similar to this, except it wasn't on a shaft. It was threaded. You know, it had a threaded portion here. And it just gives us that little bit more reach, because we're already kind of at the end of some of our throws, and we don't want to get unsafe. You really do want at least full engagement. You know, you don't want to be 1 or 2 threads on your brakes. It's just an interesting shot. Now, you'll note the Impala is sitting a little bit more forward, but when you come back here, the Pontiac's a little further back. These two cars could actually be the same length. That just shows you how big cars used to be. So, yeah. But we want as much room to the front to work as possible. He's getting ready to start jacking her up. I'm going to pull the negative cable. We don't even want any hassles there. We'll get the tires off and start pulling the front. One of the things we will definitely do is he's going to replace the rubber lines, even though in theory they're only like 2 years old, 3 years old. We just don't know their condition, and all that has to come off anyway. So we're going to do that. And ShopDog's going to eat Pringles because he loves them. Okay, we've got the car up. One thing we did, because we were thinking about it, as soon as we bleed the airbags, the back was going to sink, is we went ahead and put the rear frame rails on there. You know, we don't have it full up in the air. It doesn't need to be. But this way, the frame doesn't sink down on us in a way that could be unsafe. So, Diesel's getting ready to yank some tires. Got to be done. Starting to grab out our arsenal. The plan here is pretty basic. So pull these shocks off and put them up there. We've just put hose clamp pinch lines on there, and don't worry, one, it's fine to do that. You know, I've got rubbers on them. But two, we are replacing those hoses because we don't know how long they actually physically sat, and we're just a little paranoid, and they're like $9. We're not actually pulling the caliper and rotor and everything off the spindle. We're just gonna pull the hose, let that drain and make a big mess, and then pop the upper and lower ball joints, pop those guys up on here as well. So I've already got a nice spot for those to go. Then that'll give us the ability to go ahead and get the airbags off and get the uppers and lowers out. And then we go ahead and grab the jack and start trying to pull bushings. We don't have the new ones yet, but any work we do now saves us time later. So yeah, I think that might actually be close to solve the brake issue, because we're happy with that. I just want to drop the pedal, and then I'll put the brake light switch back in. We do still have to charge the AC. Got to tighten some belts. Did the air cleaner stud. That's actually done. The USB cable for Android Auto has been a little finicky, so I think I'm going to replace that. That's not fun, but I mean, it's doable. We have not had a chance to test cruise, and we're not sure if the kickdown stuff's all set up yet. So at some point we want to test that, but we really haven't been in a position to even attempt it yet. Yeah, and then of course the water pump is a separate project that, you know, if we're changing that petcock, we want to do that. I misunderstood this morning and thought that was one of today's goals, but getting the new one cleaned and painted is the goal. I did not hear that correctly. So we can get that taken care of. But the big thing today is having some control arms out, and those airbags will be sitting down. And, you know, some people would say, well, you could have done that before the motor and everything was in, but you know, there's only so much time. And this just isn't that bad. This is every other car. Coming out pretty reasonable. We do have one disintegrated cotter key, so we're just going to go ahead and use the air gun and pop that thing out. You can do when a cotter key breaks on you, like we have. In fact, you can see there's the piece. You can see in that one, especially in a ball joint you don't care about. If you can get a socket on here, you just, well, I'm not left-handed, but see how she brought her off? See the little bits of cotter key that used to be in there? Well, they're not there now. So let me take this incredibly hot castle nut. Oh yeah, that's warm. and pop her back on a little bit for when we pop her apart. But there, that took that out. And even if you were reusing the ball joint, once this is all apart, you could take and knock the remainder of that cotter pin out. So that is a solution. So if you're fighting a pin, just cut the ends, let the air tools do the job. All right, third time's a charm. Okay, remembering that we actually don't care about these tie rod ends, but let's pretend we did, and we didn't want to rip these boots up. When you look here, remembering this is a 7-degree taper in here. This is using a wrench to hold it. A lot of times you can just whack it, especially anything that's sprung, and once that gets hit hard enough, that'll come apart and this will fall. If that doesn't happen, remember, you always have good old pickle fork, you know, pick the right one. Another option, of course, is you can take your nut, turn it the other way because you don't want to peen those castles on. And this is a good thing with newer cars particularly, and you can knock it through. And if that doesn't work, well, then you can buy a new boot and you take this sort of approach. See how it popped apart? So now, and sometimes you can do that and not tear the boot. This one didn't tear, but a lot of times that boot is gone. So that is the whole solution. Oh boy, we got wrenches everywhere. So we got the top one to break real easy. I'm going to apply just a little more pressure. We're treating that coil or that air spring like it's a spring. Well, it is technically a spring. And we do understand that we could go into the air ride system and deflate it. But right now we're just treating it just like we would any coil spring. So see, I'm adding a little bit of weight here, because what he doesn't want is that to go boom and pop on him.
You ready?
Yep, be ready to run just in case.
Getting close.
There she goes. See, without the jack here, that would go shooting down and that would surprise you a little bit.
Surprised me a lot.
So, and now with the jack in place, we'll go ahead and smack this one free and then wiggle this guy down. Okay, this one may be hard to do a good smack on, but if you can hit it here a couple times, yeah, I don't know that you're not going to get a good. Now we're just gonna do a slight hang and pickle fork that thing. That was a bit of a fight, but we got those two out. Problem is they weren't splined anymore, so at some point in its history it lost its splining, so someone put just bolts in with lock nuts. So Kevin will pull that guy out real quick, and then it'll be a lot easier to look at the airline stuff, because before we can do the lower I made that sound easy, didn't I?
Yeah, it's got to get up and over there.
Hey, at least it didn't have to go all the way forward and go over. It would have if those wouldn't have been popped. But yeah, they did such a good job on those rain shields. But yeah, here's our problem right here.
Right there. Clunk, clunk.
That's our clunk right there.
Right there.
Okay, well, you know, stuff does not last forever. So, yeah, these are never fun to change. So, we'll do it, and then you can see rivet, rivet. So, grind those heads off, and you air chisel them through, and then the new ones bolt in. Yeah. Here you go. That is a very bad ball joint. Okay, airline is popped and capped, and now he's getting ready to pull the shaft. And then we can, once he does that, then we can lower that down, and the fight on the lower control arm starts. I've never had one just pop out nice and easy. They're usually always twisted in the mounts down here after years and years and years of driving. So it's usually a fun fight. Okay, tell them what we're doing and why.
Well, so the problem that we have right here trying to get this bolt out, you see it runs right into the exhaust. And we've tried to tilt this lower A-arm, not going to work. So we've now taken off the motor mount. You can see it right there. Aaron's doing the other side. And we're going to lift the motor up and see if that'll give us enough clearance on that bolt right there to get it out. Check back later and we'll see how we did.
Alright, so, sure you notice, nothing over here. And, like I always say in the book, you know, repeat on the other side. Or, you know, like on your shampoo bottle, rinse and repeat. So, we're going to do this side real quick. And I probably did not explain this at any point. But the reason we like to do front suspension work on the floor as opposed to on a 2 or 4 post lift. On a 2 post lift, you know, it's, you can using your stands and stuff, but it's really hard to deal with the springs. That's what it always comes down to. On a 4 poster, these are literally right in your way. The other problem is always trying to get a jack under it to take tension so that you can, it's just a lot. It's not as good for our back or our knees because we're old people, but it's safer. And in the long run, it is actually a little easier because you can use the jack to your advantage in a way you just can't on the lifts. Fork. Nope. This fork is permanent. Of course, the other lower was a fucker too.
Wait, you're on camera.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was French. From the word fouquer. Boy, this one does not want to pop.
All right, we'll check back over.
There may be a reason we're looking for a nice U66 control arm on the lower. Well, one, yeah, you can see this is the other upper. You can see it definitely, I mean, that's just crazy town right there.
That ball joint doesn't feel too bad.
No, but it's getting replaced anyway.
Yeah.
The problem we ran into, where is that arm?
It's still on
it's
the
still
car?
on the car. Yeah, we haven't taken this one off yet. That's right. We were a little disappointed to see that thing is very cracked. We think that might be a slight safety concern. So when they drilled this hole for that shock, they did not reinforce it in any way. Plus, they also made the hole exactly the size, so you have to hammer that bolt in. And, so we talked about it, and it just seems too important for us to go forward with this arm. Poor Shop Dog's exhausted. This has already been a lot of work. But we're getting ready to drop the drag link and the 2 tie rod ends and the idler. So I gotta pop this Pitman real quick right here. Now it's all out. So, based on this crack, which we don't feel comfortable repairing, and with the way they did this, and we think this is also susceptible to another crack, what we are thinking of is he did find used ones. I think we'll get some new ones, figure out where those holes should be so that they're not under the stress that these were, and not only will we drill the hole, but we will weld washers on as well to give it that strength that you just took away. One of the big problems is this hole was literally the size of that threaded bolt, and you know, they had to be hammered in. And I guarantee that caused more stress here than it needed to be. They did no stress relieving of any kind. It's actually sharp on the back here. So we'll get that on there, weld the washer on, and then that's going to bridge some of the strength around, you know, based on our welds. This one, the ball joint, doesn't feel terrible, although we hadn't marked that one as terrible. So this one, I mean, is just a crazy mess. But yeah, so we can get the uppers apart and get those, but I think he's just going to get some better used ones for us to rebuild. Dog's taking a little break. We just cleaned the water pump up, and he's getting ready to put a coat of primer on. You can see, yeah, no matter how you look at it, that's really nice. So we look forward to this. Hey. We've got a quick field trip to make. We got some primer drying anyway. And this is where we're at right now. It's a gorgeous day. We don't get that too often. Okay, we think the primer's good and dry. Shop Dog says we gotta get back to work. All right, he's in here doing a little rebuilding, making it look nice, and then I think we'll let it go 24 hours, and I'll try to get a coat on it tomorrow too. So yeah, that'll look a lot nicer if we can get that. We want it to be durable. Hey, ShopDog says that it's been a long day. I can't believe it's almost 5 already, but you know, sure goes quick. We really did a lot more than we could have asked, and I'm real happy we've got it done, but boy, we're tired. And all of that is out. We're still so sad about this, but it turns out we can get them. You know, there's some used ones out there, so, and they're not, you know, the end of the world in cost. So we're not even going to take these ones apart. We'll wait till we get the used ones, and then we'll rebuild those. And when we locate the shock mount hole, we'll reinforce it. All you had to do was weld a washer on there, and that wouldn't have happened. We're also going to, you know, stress relieve it and everything else. You know, ShopDog is a little disappointed because we're not going for any more rides for a little while. Cars always look funny like this. But really, it is best to do this on the ground. It's a real pain on the lift. And, yeah. Oh, make sure the battery's pulled. Oh, yeah, and then I didn't film it, but, you know, popped this back out and pulled the clevis. And I can't push the pedal because they're not on there, but you can see that's a much better height for the pedal. I like that. Apparently, Ollie is gassing the place out because he doesn't like spiders. So at this point, what do we say, guys?
Thanks for watching.